MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome to the Big Small Business Show, the show for all our entrepreneurs out there. And one thing about entrepreneurs is they have to really become champions of their industry, champions of their particular branch, they're champions of their country, they just have to be champions. And so we've decided today to bring in somebody who specializes in understanding champions from all walks of life, being sports or business or other. And her name is Toni Gaddie. She's a performance and clinical psychologist. And welcome, Toni Gaddie.
Thank you, Allon.
Okay, so I introduced you as somebody who specializes in performance. Tell us a bit about your background, how you got to this point to specialize in this.
So my dream was to win Wimbledon, and I failed.
Okay.
Hence the story. That's why I'm here today.
All right, we're going to need a little bit more.
So sure, ever since I was a little person, my dream was to win Wimbledon. And I made it to about in the 400s in the world and the 200s in doubles. And you really need to be top 100 to make it. But many of my friends and my compatriots and team members made it to some 1 in the world, 3 in the world. And so when I retired from tennis, from the professional international circuit, I was angry and became passionate about why my friends made it and I didn't.
Okay, so were you, in terms of international ranking, you were at those rankings, South Africa? What were you?
South Africa, you need to be top in South Africa to then turn professional. So I was top in South Africa and then in the national teams, and then you get the privilege at that time of traveling on the professional circuit, and turning pro is a different system. But because I didn't make it, my quest in life became not to win Wimbledon, but to understand champion thinking. And I studied psychology, actually clinical psychology, and I did my master's on the making of champions, a constructed reality. Okay,
so have you found that the sports champion, because it sounds like there's an affinity to sports champions, that over time you've worked out that sports champions have got similar characteristics to entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs?
So in fact, what I found is that champions in every sphere of life, whatever that means to you, to become a champion, or to rather, I like to say, bring out your inner champion. They all have similar characteristics and similar processes in their daily lives.
Okay, so let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I come see you, and I'm a sports person and I come see you, and I want to be top of my game as a sports, but I'm in some sport. And the equivalent, I'm 2 people. Do you work with me in the same way, both as a sports person or a business person?
Very similarly, probably with the same process, different content. But I want to add that in my journey of studying champions in all walks of life, I noticed that there are 2 kinds of champions. They're champions who absolutely obsess about one particular aspect of life, their thing, their niche, which is entrepreneurship or sport, and every other part of themselves and life that applies to other aspects of life gets forgotten. And those champions, I've noticed, fall short. They only become strong in that aspect of life, and they're usually the common factor around those kinds of champions, which I call partisan champions. They won't acknowledge their weakness. They only focus on strength and positivity. I learned from my journey, from my failed journey as a professional athlete, that sets you up for failure. And I started to notice that the champions who have longevity, the champions who are solid in their niche and in all aspects of life, have this attitude of constantly growing, as well as acknowledgement of their own struggle, their struggles in every little part of self and life.
So if I bring this into a real life situation, the likes of a Tiger Woods, who is an absolute, legend, then implodes on himself and then has to do the work anyway at some point in order to balance that out, in order to get back on top. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's a very good example. And it's important to notice that we're always on a journey. So what I call whole champions, who look at their weaknesses and their struggles in all aspects of life, as well as their niche, their specialty, they're always on this journey. So long as you understand that part of your journey is about looking at every aspect of self and life, you will continue to improve, which unfortunately Tiger Woods only saw after he really crashed. So he was a legend. He was a machine only in golf. And then it came out, if you've seen his documentary, that he was actually struggling with prescription drugs. He was struggling with women, with infidelity. And when that all came out in the media, he was forced to really reflect and dig deep and look at the self. And that looking at the self is so healthy. It eventually becomes empowering. And then you take real responsibility for who you are, for your weaknesses. We all have them. We're all human. And how you can fortify your weaknesses in all aspects of life and really amplify and capitalize on your strengths.
I'm just, maybe this is a tough question, but I think you'd be good with it. When entrepreneurs are struggling, for them to focus on their weaknesses feels like another weight down. Like you want to focus on your strength, because that's what the hype is. Like you don't want to, when you're not succeeding, now go, oh, I'm bad at this and I'm bad at that, and I really need to work on that. Or do you? Should you be doing that?
So very, very well explained, because this I really need to clarify. So it's not about focusing on your strength, your weaknesses. In fact, it's about focusing on your strengths. But the only way you can really invest in your strengths is when that struggling voice that you become aware of, being a whole champion, that voice that puts you down, that voice that doubts, that voice that perhaps is unhealthy in whatever way deep inside your head, is heard, acknowledged, knowing how to handle that voice, and there are different tools, there's different ways to handle that voice, then that voice can dissipate. It can move to the back of your mind, and then you can really focus on your strengths and your positivity, and your self-belief will just go through the roof.
We're going to have to take a break now, but when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Toni Gaddie, clinical and performance psychologist.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.